And hello again, and here we are, back out in the sunshine on a very windy day. I'm still waiting for some parts to arrive for the bike, so I'm just sort of messing about this afternoon, just trying out different things. One thing I've done is weighed this bike as it is, and I've also weighed my Z650, which is kind of in a similar state of build. It's got all the wheels on it, bodywork, but no engine. And it's quite interesting to see the difference in weights, but I'll come back to that in a minute. What I also wanted to do was try it out for size. I've not actually sat on it yet, so let me put this down and we'll see how it fits me. And of course the first thing I notice is it's got a bloody high seat height. I mean, I'm on tiptoes here, which I'm sure isn't the case on a standard Mark II. I'm sort of 5'10", so most bikes fit me just right. So obviously these shocks are really high in the back. That said, of course, I'm missing at least 200 pounds of weight, whatever that is, about 80 kilos of weight of the engine, exhaust and so on. So I'm hopeful that when the bike is complete, that will drop the bike down a wee bit, so I'm not quite on tiptoes. I can also, of course, adjust these rather nice Maxton shocks and reduce the preload on them and get them lowered a little bit. So I think that might be the thing I'm going to do. Yeah, so quite interesting today. I am waiting for some parts to arrive. Sadly, they're not here yet, so there's not much more I can do on the Mark II at the moment. So as I say, I've been weighing things. And so here in the back of my garage, tucked away in the corner, is my Kawasaki Z650, which we rebuilt the run chassis some time ago. There's a whole series of videos about that build. What it's lacking right now is the engine, because that's something we'll do over the winter. However, what's interesting is the state of this build at the moment is almost identical to the state of the build of the Mark II. The only real difference is that this bike has its headlamp and its brake master cylinder, and they weigh, maybe half a pound, half a kilo, or something like that. So it's a fair comparison. So I weighed this bike and also my Mark II. And the method I used was to get a bathroom weigh scale, jack up the bike each end at a time, and then lower it very gently and measure the weight on the front wheel and then on the back wheel. Same thing with the Mark II. So over here I've got my little cheat sheet here to remind myself what the numbers were. It's quite interesting because, as I've already mentioned before, I'm quite interested in building lightweight bikes. So if I can make a bike lighter, I will do. So scores on the doors then. Z650, front is 45.1 kilograms and the rear is 51.1 kilograms. It's 96.2 kilograms altogether. Can't work out right now in my head what that is in kilograms, but I'll put it up in the video when I get back in the house. More interestingly enough, the Mark II, which, let's not forget, should in theory be heavier than this bike, because a standard 650 is about 520 pounds, whereas a Mark II is closer to 545 pounds. Again, not sure what the kilo version is, but I'll put it up in the video. Whereas now I fitted lightweight wheels, swing arm suspension, forks are from a ZRX 1200, and you would think at 43mm they'd be heavier than the little 37mm forks on this bike, on the Z650, but no. These forks weigh a ton. I think the wall thickness must be really, really thick compared to modern forks, so obviously it's a lot heavier. Now this bike is pretty much standard, apart from having ZRX shocks and also R6 calipers and front discs. Apart from that, it's all pretty standard. Of course, it's also got a Giliari seat, but that's not much difference. So anyway, on the Mark II, the scores on the doors are rear 42.2, front 37.1, which is only, nearest damn it, 79.3 kilos. So the difference is an amazing 17 kilos, or roughly 37 pounds, which is a huge amount. I'm really pleased with that, and most of that weight saving is because I've used those super lightweight R6 wheels, and they really are light, as well as of course the swing arm and shocks and forks and so on. So yeah, really pleased with that. Now going forward, you could try to predict what the final weight of the bike will be, because pretty much all the other parts that are going to go on the bike are are the same. I mean, the engine's a little bit lighter on the Z650 compared to the Mark II. The exhaust system will be pretty much the same. Instrumentation, electrics, all pretty much the same when it comes to the weight of them. But so far so good. So I reckon, and let's not forget, the original weight of 545 pounds for the Mark II, that included a heavy 4x2 exhaust system, which we will not be having. We'll save a huge amount of weight there. It also means things like, you know, it'll have lighter, I don't know, rear mudguard, it'll have lighter controls, it'll have an aluminium handlebar rather than a steel handlebar. All these small things all add up. So I'm not quite sure, obviously yet, how heavy both bikes will be, but I think we're on the right track so far in making these bikes pretty damn light without spending an absolute fortune on titanium exhaust systems which cost £3,000 and so on. Now I would like also to do the same test, the same weight test on the 1170, which is now almost finished. And so when it comes to the 650 1170 here, I would love to weigh it, because I reckon it's going to be at least 20 or maybe even 30 kilos lighter than a standard Z1 or Z1000. Unfortunately right now I can't really weigh it, because as soon as I move this bike off its practice stand, the engine's going to pour out oil, because it's not yet oil tight, because I've not yet got this inner plate sorted out on the gearbox sprocket. So I'm not doing that yet, just to weigh it. But yeah, I will be very interested to see what weight it will be when I do weigh it, because right now it is pretty much finished in terms of its overall weight. It doesn't yet have a chain or a front sprocket and this cover here, but apart from that, yeah, it's pretty much the same as it will be when it's finished. So yeah, we'll have to wait for that for another day, but I am intrigued to find out how heavy it really is. And so this has been a very quick video about something that most folks will find very boring, i.e. the weight of incomplete or complete bikes. But to me, it's actually quite interesting, because the weight of a bike makes a big difference to the way it handles and the way it performs. So yeah, it is quite important to me. And of course, when it comes to this bike here, and of course the Mark II, both will have far better brakes and suspension than a standard bike would ever have. And indeed a lot more horsepower as well, because this one's got a tuned 1170 motor in it and the Mark II's getting a tuned 1400 motor in it. So overall I suspect the performance of both bikes will be an awful lot better than a standard bike would ever be, and that's the whole point of building them and making them look as good as we can. So anyway, as I say, just a quick video wasting an hour or two on a boring afternoon, and hopefully it's not been too boring for you as well. So thanks for watching, and cheers.